She walked through the blizzard alone, wearing nothing but a thin coat and broken boots. No horse. No wagon. Just a desperate woman with nowhere else to go. When she knocked on his door that frozen night, neither of them knew this moment would change everything. This is a story about survival, judgment, and finding love when the whole world tells you it's wrong. The snow fell like white curtains across the Montana wilderness. Through the thick storm, a figure appeared. It was a woman, walking alone on foot. There were no horse tracks behind her. No wagon wheels marked her path. She wore only a lightweight coat that did little against the biting wind. Her boots were falling apart at the heels, barely holding together. The winter wind sliced across the empty plains with cruel force. Winter had arrived, cold and unforgiving. Cole Dawson stood at his ranch house door, one hand resting on the wooden frame. He watched this strange woman climb the final hill toward his property. Most travelers would have turned back when they saw weather like this. But not her. She didn't pause to catch her breath. She didn't trip or fall. She simply moved forward, one determined step after another. When she finally reached the front porch, she knocked 3 times. The knocks were strong and steady, like she had decided this would be her last stop. Cole pulled the door open. The woman was younger than he expected, probably in her late 20s. Her dark hair was tied back tightly. Her face looked thin, worn down by hunger or stress, maybe both. Snowflakes clung to her eyelashes. When her eyes met his, there was no fear in them. But they held a deep tiredness that Cole understood well. It was the look of someone who had run out of options but hadn't run out of fight. "I need work," she said plainly. No hello. No apology for showing up during a storm. Cole looked at her carefully. "What kind of work?" "Whatever you'll give me," she answered. "I can cook. I can clean. I can repair things. And I learn quickly." He glanced at her hands. They weren't soft like a lady's hands, but they weren't rough like ranch hands either. These were hands that had worked before, just not this particular kind of work. "Why come all the way out here?" he asked. "Because you're far enough from town," she said. "Maybe you need help more than you need rumors." That answer almost made him smile. Almost. His housekeeper had quit 3 weeks ago, complaining that the silence drove her crazy. Winter was coming fast and hard. Cole needed someone to manage the house while he took care of the animals. Still, a stranger appearing alone at sunset usually meant trouble. But the snow was getting heavier now. Thick white flakes were turning everything dangerous. "You'll get more than just wages here," Cole finally said. "Work begins before sunrise. The days are long. This land doesn't forgive mistakes. I don't accept quitting, and I don't hand out charity." "I'm not asking for charity," she replied. "Just honest work for honest payment." He nodded slowly. "Can you handle animals? Chickens?" "I'll learn whatever I don't already know," she said. "And I don't break easily." That answer settled something inside him. "The small house out back is yours," he said. "The stove works. The blankets are clean. We'll discuss payment tomorrow morning." She nodded once. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," he warned. "You might regret this decision when the sun comes up." He walked her to the small building behind the main house. It was simple. 1 room. 1 window. 1 stove. She stepped inside without complaining and placed her small bag on the bed. "My name is Cole Dawson," he said. "Clara Brennan," she replied. Then she added quietly, "Mrs. Brennan. But I'm widowed now." "Just Clara," then, she corrected herself. Cole nodded. Being widowed and alone explained plenty without needing more words. "See you at sunrise," he said. Back inside the main house, Cole lit an oil lamp and stared at his empty kitchen table set for one person. He wondered what she was running from. He wondered if hiring her was a mistake. And he wondered why her eyes reminded him so much of his own. Outside, the snow fell harder, covering up her footprints like the land itself was keeping her secret. 3 days later, Cole opened the barn door at 4 in the morning and stopped in surprise. Clara was already standing in the yard, in complete darkness. Her breath made clouds in the freezing air. She was struggling with leather straps near one of the horses. He hadn't told her when to start working. He'd only mentioned dawn. Most people would have slept until first light. But not her. "That's a bridle," Cole said after watching her struggle. "The horse doesn't need that for cleaning stalls." She turned, startled but not embarrassed. "Then I'll use the halter." He pointed toward the feed storage. 2 scoops for each animal. Break the ice on the water troughs if they're frozen. She nodded and got to work. By noon, the stalls were spotless. Water had been carried. And a section of broken fence had been fixed with wire and stubborn determination. Her hands were wrapped in torn cloth. Blood was soaking through. "That's enough work for today," Cole called out. "There's more fence to fix," she said. "I said that's enough." She didn't argue. She just nodded and headed back to her small house. That evening, Cole left a plate of stew and bread on the kitchen table for her. He ate alone in another room. The boundary was clear. Ranch owner and hired worker. That's how it had to stay. Near midnight, the chickens started screaming. Cole grabbed his rifle and ran outside. He stopped short when he saw the scene. Clara stood by the chicken coop in her nightgown and coat. She was holding one of his rifles. Light from a lantern painted her in orange and shadow. 3 wolves circled just beyond the fence, their eyes glowing in the darkness. She fired a warning shot into the air. The wolves backed up but didn't leave. Cole moved beside her. He lit a torch and threw it toward the animals. She fired again. Together, they drove the pack back into the hills. When silence returned, they stood side by side, their breath rising in white clouds. "You know how to shoot," Cole said. "My father taught me," she answered. He said a woman on her own needs to know how to defend herself. She was shaking either from cold or adrenaline. Maybe both. But she hadn't run away. "Get some rest," Cole said. "They won't come back tonight." She nodded and walked toward her house, still carrying the rifle. Cole watched her leave, listening to the distant howl of wolves echoing in the darkness. Maybe, he thought, hiring her wasn't a mistake after all. 2 days later, Cole rode into town for supplies. The stares started immediately. "Morning, Cole," Martha Doyle said carefully from behind the store counter. "I heard you hired a woman." "I needed help," Cole said simply. She needed work. "People are talking," Martha warned. "People always talk," Cole replied. Outside, Warren Kent blocked the doorway. He was a thin banker with a sharp smile. "Is she that kind of woman?" Kent asked with suspicion. Cole's jaw tightened. "She's the kind that works hard and minds her own business." Kent stepped aside, still smiling. "Just friendly advice, Cole." Cole rode home under a gray iron sky. A new winter coat was tied behind his saddle. Back at the ranch, he handed the coat to Clara without ceremony. "You'll need this," he said. "Heavy snow is coming." She stared at it like it might vanish. "I can't pay you back for this." "I didn't ask you to." "Then why give it to me?" "Maybe I understand what it's like," he said. "Needing a place that doesn't ask questions." She nodded, holding the coat close to her chest. That night, Cole lay awake, listening to the wind howl. In the small house, Clara sat on her bed wrapped in warmth for the first time in months. Outside, the land settled under fresh snow. And somewhere beyond the ridge, the wolves waited. The ranch fell into a quiet rhythm as winter tightened its grip. Days started before light and ended after dark. Snow piled against fences and made everything feel smaller and closer. Clara learned fast. Too fast for someone who claimed she'd never worked a ranch before. She learned the sound of frozen metal. The way cattle moved when snow meant hunger. The silence that warned of another storm coming. Cole watched without saying anything. He showed her how to throw a rope. How to read a nervous animal. How to move steady instead of rushing. She missed more than she caught, but she never gave up. Not once. Weeks passed. November turned into December. The cold stayed. One evening, while they worked by lantern light in the barn, Clara began humming. The tune was simple and old, worn smooth by years. Cole paused, the rope going slack in his hands. "What's that song?" he asked. "A hymn my mother used to sing," Clara said. She said it helped when things felt heavier than you could carry. She finished her work and went quiet again, but the melody stayed with him long after the lantern was put out. The water pipes froze on a Tuesday morning. Cole discovered it when nothing came from the pump. He cursed once under his breath. The repair would take days. Until then, water would have to be carried by hand from the creek. "You can use the spare bedroom," he said that evening. "It's warmer. The indoor pump still works." Clara hesitated. "People already talk." "People always talk," Cole said. "Question is whether you freeze while caring about it." "I'm not that kind of woman," she said softly. "I know," he replied. "And I'm not that kind of man." After a long pause, she nodded. That night, they ate supper at the same table for the first time. The fire crackled low. The house felt different. Less empty. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. Laws has a way of making strangers understand each other faster than words ever could. Christmas arrived quietly. No tree, just pine branches over the fireplace and candles in the windows. Cole carved a small wooden bird from scrap wood and placed it where the firelight could catch it. "I made one once," he said. "For a child that didn't live long enough to hold it." Clara didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. "My daughter was 4, she said later that night. Fever took her. After that, the town decided my grief was somehow wrong." Cole stared into the fire. "My wife died giving birth. People said I should have done more. Maybe they were right." They sat with that truth between them. Two people carrying guilt neither one had earned, but both believed. The blizzard came 3 days after Christmas. It arrived hard and fast, erasing everything beyond the porch. The cattle were stuck in the far field. If they didn't bring feed, the herd wouldn't survive. "I'm going," Cole said, loading hay onto the sled. "You're not going alone," Clara said, already pulling on her coat. He wanted to argue. Wanted to order her to stay inside. But he saw the same determination that had brought her to his door in the snow. They followed the fence line by feel. The wind hit like fists. Snow filled their mouths and lungs. 2 hours out. 1 hour feeding cattle by touch more than sight. On the way back, the ground gave way beneath Clara. One moment she was beside him. The next she vanished into black icy water. Cole grabbed her coat and pulled with everything he had. She came up gasping, already shaking violently. "Move," he shouted. "Don't stop." They reached a small emergency shelter just as her lips turned blue. Inside, Cole stripped off her wet clothes, wrapped her in blankets, and lit the stove. When it wasn't enough, he added his own body heat to keep her alive. It was the last option, but it was the only one left. "Stay awake," he ordered. "Talk to me." "I'm so cold," she whispered. I know. But you're stronger than cold. She pressed against him, shaking hard. Slowly, the shaking eased. I can't lose someone again, Cole said. The words escaped before he could stop them. Clara's hand found his. You won't, she promised. Nothing improper happened. But everything changed. They returned to the ranch alive and exhausted. And already condemned by rumor. By the time Warren Kent showed up days later, the story had grown teeth. You were alone with her, Kent said. During the storm. No witnesses. What's your point? Cole asked. Send her away, Kent said smoothly. Or you'll lose credit, business connections, and respect. That night, Cole told Clara she should go to town. The look on her face was worse than anger. It was hurt sharpened into something dangerous. You said this place was different, she said. You said we handle our own. I was trying to protect you. No, she said. You're protecting yourself. She packed without another word. Jasper, Cole's ranch hand, watched from the doorway. You're scared, Jasper said. And you're wrong. Those words stayed long after Clara left. Cole sat alone, listening to wolves howl in the distance. He realized the real predators wore clean coats and friendly smiles. And he knew with cold certainty that if he did nothing now, he would lose her forever. Outside, the church bell rang for Sunday. And Cole Dawson made his choice. Cole Dawson walked into the church like a man walking toward his own trial. The wooden doors creaked open and every head turned. The room smelled of wet wool and old wood. Snow-covered boots lined the walls. Reverend Mills stood at the front, his voice slowing as Cole's footsteps echoed down the center aisle. Warren Kent sat in the front row, his back straight, his mouth already curved in quiet victory. Cole stopped near the front and turned to face the room. I have something to say, he announced. Reverend Mills cleared his throat. Mr. Dawson, perhaps after the service. No, Cole said. His voice was calm but carried weight. Now. Silence fell. Even the wind outside seemed to pause. You all knew my wife, Sarah, Cole began. She was good, strong, kind. When she died, many of you decided I failed her. Some of you still believe that. Whispers rippled through the pews. Maybe you were right, Cole continued. Or maybe grief just makes people hungry for someone to blame. Either way, I learned something. Judgment is easier than mercy. His eyes found Warren Kent. There's been talk about a woman named Clara Brennan. You call her shameful. You call her dangerous. You whisper about her like she isn't even human. Kent stood. Mr. Dawson, reputation matters. Does it? Cole cut him off. Or does your comfort matter more than truth? The room stirred. She lost her child, Cole said. She lost her husband. She lost her home. And instead of giving up, she kept going. She worked harder than anyone I've ever hired. She stood her ground when wolves came at night. And not one of you had the decency to know her name before you judged her. Kent's face hardened. This isn't about charity. You're right, Cole interrupted. It's about courage. Something this town has forgotten. He took a breath. Yes, she lived on my land. Yes, I care for her. If that offends you, judge me. But leave her out of your poison. Any man who has a problem with that knows where to find me. Cole turned and walked out before anyone could respond. The cold hit his face hard. But for the first time in years, his chest felt lighter. He rode straight to town. Clara's hotel room was small and bare. A narrow bed. One chair. Her bag sat packed near the door. She looked up when he entered, guarded and tired. I should have stood up sooner, Cole said. I was afraid. And I was wrong. She didn't speak. I choose you, he said. Every day. Not as hired help. Not as something to hide. As my partner, if you'll have me. She studied his face for a long moment, searching for doubt. Finally, she nodded. They rode back to the ranch side by side. The land greeted them the same way it always had. Silent. Honest. Spring came slowly. Then all at once. Snow melted into dark soil. Green grass pushed through dead ground. The creek ran clear again. No longer a trap, but a promise. Cole and Clara worked together. Not separate. Not careful. Together. Some people came around. Martha Doyle brought stew and an awkward blessing. Jasper only smiled and said he'd never doubted them. Warren Kent stayed quiet. That was enough. One evening, Cole led Clara to the ridge where they'd first met. I buried them here, he said, nodding to two small crosses. Sarah and the baby. Clara took his hand. I never got to say goodbye to mine either. They stood in the wind, grief moving between them like a shared language. You think they'd forgive us? Clara asked. For choosing to live again? Cole squeezed her hand. I think they'd call us fools if we didn't. They married the next week. No church. No crowd. Just promises spoken under open sky, with the land bearing witness. That night they stood in the doorway of the main house. The door was open. Light spilled out into the darkness. The wooden bird caught the firelight on the mantel, casting soft shadows. They stepped inside together. Behind them, the door closed softly, like a promise kept. Ahead of them lay a life earned the hard way. And for the first time, the ranch felt like home.